In a tiny, forgotten village, there once lived a boy named Kabir. His life was painted with shades of poverty from the very beginning. Each day, Kabir walked to school in shoes so worn out that the ground peeked through the holes. His school bag, patched and torn, seemed to carry more scars than books. Many nights he lay down on his bed with an empty stomach, listening to the quiet hunger echoing inside him. His pockets, like his house, were often empty, holding nothing but the weight of hardship. Yet despite all this, Kabir carried something no one could see, a vision hidden deep within his young heart. While others measured him by his broken shoes and ragged clothes, Kabir measured himself by the size of his dream. He longed to rise above the narrow limits of his village life. He imagined a future where his struggles would not define him, but rather fuel him to achieve something remarkable. To the world, Kabir was just another poor child, destined to repeat the cycle of poverty. But inside, he refused to believe that hunger, poverty, or torn clothes could chain his destiny. His mind whispered that greatness could be born even in the humblest corners. And so, while his pockets remained empty, his spirit was overflowing, with courage, determination, and the burning desire to do something big. Kabir's dream was not a small one. He wanted to achieve something so significant that it could transform not only his own destiny, but also the future of his struggling family. His heart carried visions far beyond the dusty roads of his little village. But whenever Kabir gathered the courage to share his dream, he was met with ridicule. The villagers laughed, shaking their heads as if his words were nothing but foolish fantasies. How can a boy with torn shoes and empty pockets think about big things? They mocked. Dreams are for the rich. You should only think about earning bread for tomorrow. Their words stung like thorns, cutting deep into his heart. Each laugh, each remark reminded him of the harsh truth of his poverty. For a moment, the weight of their doubt would make his chest heavy with sadness. But beneath that sadness, Kabir held on to something powerful, belief. He knew that life could not be measured only by the coins in his hand or the food on his plate. His current condition was temporary, not permanent. Even if his pockets were empty, his mind was not. His imagination was full, and his spirit refused to accept the idea that his future was bound to his present struggles. Kabir began to realize that people laughed not because his dream was impossible, but because their own vision was too small. They could not see beyond survival. He, however, could. And even though their words hurt him deeply, they also gave him strength. Strength to prove that even a boy with nothing in his hands could dare to think of something greater than himself. One quiet evening, Kabir sat alone by the river, his eyes fixed on the rippling water. The sun was sinking, painting the sky in shades of orange, but Kabir felt only a heavy sadness pressing on his heart. The voices of the villagers still echoed in his mind, voices that told him he was too poor to dream, too empty-handed to ever achieve something great. For the first time, he wondered if they might be right. Just then, an old wise teacher named Guruji noticed him sitting in despair. With kind eyes and a gentle smile, Guruji approached and asked, "Why do you look so troubled, my child?" Kabir lowered his head and replied softly, "Guruji, everyone says I cannot do anything important in life because I am poor. They say my dreams are too big for a boy with nothing in his hands." Guruji listened patiently, then reached into his bag and pulled out a small mirror. Placing it in Kabir's hands, he said, "Look into this mirror. Tell me, what do you see?" Kabir stared at his reflection and whispered, "I see myself." Guruji nodded and asked again, "Do you see the pain in your eyes?" Slowly, Kabir admitted, "Yes." Guruji's smile deepened. "Now look deeper. Beyond the pain, do you see the fire hidden behind it?" Kabir looked once more, and this time something stirred inside him. Behind the sadness, he caught a glimpse of determination, a spark waiting to ignite. Guruji said softly, "That fire is your belief. Never let it die. If you protect it with courage and discipline, it will guide you through even the darkest nights." Guruji gently placed his hand on Kabir's shoulder and continued with a voice both calm and powerful. "What you just saw in the mirror is not ordinary, my child. That fire is your belief. Many people never notice it, and even more let it fade away when life becomes difficult. But you must do the opposite. You must guard this flame inside you as if it were your most precious treasure." He paused for a moment, letting Kabir absorb the words, then added, "This fire can only grow if you feed it. Courage will be its oxygen. Discipline will be its fuel. If you protect it carefully, it will never die, and even in the darkest nights, it will light your path forward." Kabir held the mirror tightly, his heart beating faster. For the first time, he began to see himself not as a helpless boy, but as someone with hidden strength. Guruji continued, "Remember, the world will always try to cover your mirror with dust. People will mock you, discourage you, and try to convince you that you are not enough. That dust will blur your vision. But your duty is to keep cleaning the mirror with your actions, study harder, work with honesty, rise again after every failure. That is how you will see your true self clearly every single day." Kabir's eyes sparkled with a new determination. The pain in his heart felt lighter, replaced by a quiet confidence. The mirror in his hands was no longer just glass, it had become a symbol of his inner strength, a reminder of what he was truly capable of if he chose to believe. From that very day, Kabir carried Guruji's lesson in his heart, as if it were a sacred promise. The mirror became more than an object. It was a symbol of his hidden strength, a daily reminder that his future was not chained to his present. Whenever doubt crept into his mind, he would hold the mirror and remember the fire Guruji had spoken about. Kabir began to transform his life step by step. He no longer studied just to pass his exams. Instead, he studied with the vision of changing his destiny. Every book he could get his hands on became a new doorway to knowledge. He read late into the night, absorbing stories of great people who had risen from nothing. He practiced writing tirelessly, turning mistakes into lessons instead of defeats. Each failure became fuel, not fear. Each challenge became an opportunity to test the strength of his fire, and slowly Kabir's dreams began to expand. He no longer wished only to survive the next day or scrape by in school. His ambition grew larger. He dreamed of building a future so strong that it would lift his entire family out of poverty. Though his pockets still remained empty and his shoes still carried holes, Kabir's spirit grew richer every single day. The villagers' laughter echoed less and less in his mind, for he had discovered a deeper voice within himself, the voice of belief. That belief whispered to him constantly, "Your present is not your destiny. Keep moving forward, and one day your dream will become your reality." Despite Kabir's burning determination, life at home was filled with challenges that tested his strength. His mother's health had grown fragile. She often lay in bed weak and in need of medicine that the family simply could not afford. Each time Kabir watched her cough or struggle with pain, his heart tightened. He wished he could do more, but the reality of their poverty weighed heavily upon him. His father, an aging farmer, worked from sunrise to sunset in the scorching fields. The old man's hands were rough and calloused, his back bent under years of labor. Yet, despite his endless effort, he often returned home empty-handed, unable to provide even the simplest comforts for his family. Kabir saw the quiet despair in his father's eyes and realized how unfair life had been to the man who had given him everything he could. These struggles could have broken Kabir, but instead they made his resolve even stronger. He knew that if he did nothing, his family would remain trapped in the same cycle of suffering. He could not allow his mother's health to worsen without help. He could not bear to see his father carry the weight of poverty alone. So, Kabir made a silent vow to himself, "I will not let my family's story end in hardship. I will find a way to change it." The responsibility felt heavy on his young shoulders, but he welcomed it with courage. In those difficult days, Kabir stopped seeing his dream as just a personal ambition. It became a mission, a duty to rewrite the destiny of his entire family. Each new day became a test of Kabir's willpower. At dawn, while many children still slept, Kabir prepared himself for school. Though his clothes were worn and his shoes were patched, he walked with determination, reminding himself that knowledge was his true weapon. After school, while his classmates went home to play, Kabir headed straight to a small tea shop in the village. There he washed glasses, wiped tables, and carried trays to customers. The work was tiring, the pay was small, but Kabir accepted it without complaint. Every coin he earned felt like a step closer to his dream. On weekends, when other boys spent their time wandering the fields or resting, Kabir sought out the local mechanic. He offered his help, cleaning tools, fetching parts, observing closely. Slowly, he began to understand the basics of repair work. These extra skills were seeds he hoped would grow into something valuable one day. But perhaps the hardest part of his routine came at night. When the entire village had gone quiet and lamps were extinguished, Kabir sat under a dim, flickering light, his books spread before him. He studied with fierce concentration, often sacrificing sleep, comfort, and even meals. His stomach might have been empty, but his mind was full. Every long night reminded him of the mirror and the fire Guruji had spoken about. That invisible flame fueled him, pushing him forward when his body was exhausted. Kabir knew his journey would not be easy, but he also knew that every sacrifice, every small effort, was shaping him into someone stronger. And so, no matter how difficult, he never stopped. As the years quietly passed, Kabir's persistence began to bear fruit. With the little money he had saved from long hours of work, he started a modest mobile repair business in one corner of the village. It was nothing more than a wooden table, a few borrowed tools, and his determination, but to Kabir it was the beginning of something greater. Day by day, villagers brought their broken phones to him. Kabir treated every customer with respect, no matter how small the job. He listened carefully, worked patiently, and charged only what was fair. Many people were surprised to see such dedication in a boy so young, and slowly trust began to grow around his name. Instead of spending his earnings, Kabir saved every rupee with care. His friends often teased him for being too serious, but Kabir knew what he was doing. Every coin he set aside was a brick in the foundation of his future. Over time, his savings allowed him to expand from repairing phones to opening a tiny electronics shop. There, he sold chargers, batteries, and small accessories while continuing his repair work. His long days turned into longer nights, but Kabir did not complain. He reinvested every bit of profit back into the business, constantly seeking ways to improve. Step by step, what once looked like a fragile dream began to take shape in reality. From a single corner shop, Kabir managed to open 3. And soon after, with confidence and careful planning, he launched his very own brand of mobile accessories. The same boy who once sat by the river with empty pockets was now building something that carried his name. Kabir's hard work and vision soon transformed his life in ways the villagers could hardly believe. The small repair corner that once seemed insignificant had now grown into a flourishing business. His own brand of mobile accessories began to spread beyond the village, and his name carried respect and admiration. The same people who had once mocked him for dreaming too big now stood in line outside his office, waiting for a chance to work under him. Their laughter had turned into awe, their doubts had become silent admiration. It was as if the world itself had changed, but in truth it was Kabir who had changed, proving that persistence could rewrite destiny. At home, the fruits of his success were even more meaningful. His mother, who had long suffered in silence, now received regular treatment and medicine. The weakness in her eyes slowly faded, replaced by gratitude and pride for her son. His father, once worn and bent from endless labor in the fields, no longer had to toil under the burning sun. Kabir's success allowed him to finally rest, knowing that his family was secure. One day, Guruji visited Kabir. The boy, now a respected young man, welcomed his teacher with deep reverence. Guruji looked around at the bustling office, the employees, and the symbol of success his student had built. With a warm smile, he said, "You see, Kabir, the world tries to make poor boys think small, but those who dare to think big, those who guard the fire within, can rewrite their entire story." Kabir bowed his head, his heart filled with humility. He realized that his journey was not just about wealth or success. It was about proving that dreams are never measured by the money in one's pocket, but by the vision in one's heart. Guruji's words lingered in the air like a timeless truth, and Kabir felt them echo deep within his soul. His journey had proven something powerful. True greatness is never defined by the coins in your pocket, the clothes you wear, or the house you live in. It is measured only by the size of your vision and the strength of your belief. The world had once tried to shrink Kabir's dreams, telling him that a poor boy should think only of his next meal. But Kabir had dared to think beyond survival. He had dared to dream big, and in doing so, he rewrote not just his own destiny, but also the destiny of his family. His story became living proof that even the humblest beginnings can lead to extraordinary outcomes when courage and discipline guide the way. Turning to the audience of his story, the narrator offers a heartfelt reminder. Dear friend, if you feel even the faintest spark of hope in your heart, do not ignore it. That spark is the beginning of your fire. Protect it, feed it, and let it guide you toward your own greatness. The message is clear. Success is not something to wait for. It begins the very moment you choose to believe in yourself. The call is simple, yet powerful. Share this story with someone who needs encouragement. Spread the light of hope and join in the journey of strength and wisdom. And above all, remember this truth. Your next chapter of success begins not tomorrow, not someday in the distant future, but today. The moment you dare to think big, you take the first step toward transforming your life. So why wait? Start now.